Hello, and welcome to this lecture on motivating young readers, practical strategies for media center specialists and librarians. My name is Ray, and today I'll share insights and strategies that combine personal experiences and evidence-based theories to address motivational challenges in school libraries. As librarians and media center specialists, we play a unique role in fostering a love for reading, especially when students face significant challenges such as English learners, otherwise known as EL students. We also need to be able to support teachers and their needs in their individual classrooms. Let's explore actionable strategies that you can implement in your own library. Motivating students to read is not just about providing access to books. It's also about inspiring a desire for students to engage with the literature. At our library, we serve a diverse student population, including many EL students who are classified as newcomers, a term that our county uses to say that a particular student has come to live in this country for the first time in the last 3 years. My EL students have expressed that they feel embarrassed when choosing books at their reading level. Most students that come from non-English speaking countries are at a much lower English reading level than their peers who are born in America. These books might also not be engaging enough, especially for our older students who are forced to read picture books. Imagine going from reading adult books all the time to only picture books. It wouldn't be fun or engaging, and this has a great impact on their motivation to read. Similarly, I've worked with teachers who face their own struggles in motivating students, particularly in challenging circumstances, such as returning from extended leave, teaching students who don't speak English, or adapting to new classroom dynamics. As support staff members and the literary center of the school, we should be doing all we can to help these struggling teachers. In order to address these challenges, I've applied theories such as goal orientation theory and casual attribution theory to create practical interventions in the media center and beyond. We'll start with goal orientation theory. Goal orientation theory explains why individuals engage in specific tasks. It focuses on their reasons and motivations, which can range from displaying their competence to others to striving for personal improvement. Goal orientation is split into two types of goals: performance goals and mastery goals. Performance goals are focused on demonstrating one's abilities to others. They're divided into two types: performance approach goals and performance avoidance goals. Performance approach goals are aimed at showcasing competence to gain positive recognition. For example, a student who's striving to achieve the highest grade in their class to impress their peers. Performance avoidance goals are aimed at avoiding negative judgment, such as when a student might refrain from answering a question in class because they think that it'll make them look incompetent. Mastery goals, on the other hand, emphasize learning, understanding, and improvement. They're also divided into mastery approach goals and mastery avoidance goals. Mastery approach goals are focused on developing skills or mastering a subject for intrinsic satisfaction. For instance, a student attending tutoring sessions to deepen their understanding of a topic because they genuinely want to learn. Mastery avoidance goals focus on avoiding misunderstanding or failure to meet high personal standards. An example of this might be a perfectionist student who avoids tasks for fear that they might result in failure. In our media center, many EL students exhibited performance avoidance goals, meaning that they aim to avoid embarrassment by choosing books that are similar to their English speaking peers so as not to appear incompetent. As librarians, we want to encourage students to go from picking out books to fit in to picking out books that they can read and that they want to read. Essentially, we want to shift their goals from performance avoidance goals to mastery approach goals. Doing this successfully will inspire students to read as a way to improve learning rather than just to fit in. These students often picked thick chapter books such as Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan, or popular graphic novels such as Dogman by Dave Pilkey, rather than books that would truly challenge their reading skills. To shift this mindset, we created visually engaging book displays on topics students cared about, such as sports, animals, and holidays. These displays allowed students to select books without fear of judgment, as everyone browsed from the same area. By choosing topics that we figured that the children would be interested in, we hoped to attract their attention to the displays that had books of varying levels on it. If everyone was looking at the displays, There should be far less shame in picking a lower leveled book on a popular topic. We found some displays worked better than others. For instance, our soccer themed book were a huge hit, while our election themed books didn't resonate with the children well. And while the displays increased engagement, they didn't fully solve the problem of students picking appropriate leveled books. For this strategy to work well, someone who is well acquainted with a student's reading abilities, such as a teacher or a reading coach, should be actively walking around with the students while they're looking for books in order to help them guide their choices. Using displays with topics of interest can also be incredibly useful when used in conjunction to the reading five-finger rule. Have students open their selected book to the first page, and while reading, instruct them to put a finger down when they encounter a word they do not know. If the student only puts down one or two fingers, the book is likely not challenging enough. If they put down 4 or 5 fingers, the book is too difficult. 3 fingers is just right. With practice, students can use this strategy without instruction from a staff member, allowing them to learn to pick a just right book all by themselves. Let's move on to our next motivational theory. Attribution theory, developed by Bernard Weiner, helps us understand how people interpret success and failure. For instance, a teacher I worked with blamed her inability to connect with her students on her maternity leave and other uncontrollable factors, such as having a class that was made up of students who mostly spoke Spanish, while she only speaks English, which led to self doubt. Throughout the first 9 weeks of the semester, I took time to sit down with this teacher and listen to her problems, and to help her see everything in a different light. Through the lens of attribution theory, we reframed her situation and encouraged her to focus on the controllable aspects, such as implementing a reward system and learning basic Spanish phrases. Over time, and with helpful intervention, she was able to go from thinking that she would never connect to her class due to her absence creating an unbridgeable gap to actively taking steps she could control to bond with her students. By reinforcing good behavior and academic achievements, as well as coming to understand her students better through overcoming language barriers, she was able to better connect with her students and earn their respect. Specifically, she found that a token economy, where she gave out Mustang tokens for positive behaviors, worked very well in encouraging students to engage and behave in the classroom. She also started taking a Spanish for Educators course through the public library and has found that being able to speak to the students, even on a rudimentary level, has increased their respect for her. By reframing the problem to be something that can be managed, she was able to better manage her classroom. This approach helped her regain confidence and partially bridged the gap with her and her students. And though she has some way to go still, it has been a huge help to her. For librarians, attribution theory reminds us that perceptions of effort and control are key in motivating children, as students and readers alike, as well as adults, who also can struggle to be motivated and to feel as though they are succeeding. We can also use casual attribution theory in our libraries to encourage literacy, such as helping students reframe their reading challenges. For instance, remind them that reading growth comes from effort and that struggling with challenging books is a sign of progress, not failure. Furthermore, it would be beneficial to set up a program with teachers where, when a student makes a significant improvement in their reading journey, they can get a reward in the library. This reward can be something tangible, like an item from the treasure box, or the reward can be more active, such as getting to help out in the library. In my experience, students love being able to get behind the circulation desk and check out their classmates' books during their library time. Ultimately, we want to do what we can to help students realize that progress, no matter how small, is worth being celebrated. There are also a great number of broader strategies that librarians can implement in their media centers to help encourage students to get out there and read. It should be a huge goal for any library to be a safe and inclusive environment that students feel that they can be themselves in. This is especially true for students who are struggling in learning to read. Libraries should strive to provide scaffolded resources, like leveled readers or picture dictionaries, that build confidence in English readers and in readers who are still developing their skills. For English learners specifically, libraries would be great to offer dual language books that help bridge the gap in language and support cultural identity. It's also always helpful to design comfortable spaces where students can explore books without pressure and in comfort. To discourage shame around reading and reading skills, you can foster a culture of peer support. Encourage students to inspire and learn from one another in their reading journeys. Great ways to do this are to organize peer reading buddy programs where you pair younger or struggling readers with older students who can model fluency and comprehension, as well as make group reading fun. You can also host book talks or create reading clubs where students can share their interests within certain genres or certain types of stories like graphic novels, cultural stories, or something like fantasy. In my experience, students also love to recommend books to others. So you can create a recommended by students wall where you take pictures of students with their favorite books to suggest to others and endorse the books to their peers. As librarians, we need to support teachers, but teachers can also help support us. We can partner with classroom teachers to support specific students' needs. We can regularly communicate with teachers and identify struggling readers or students who need additional support, and then when they come into the Media Center, offer that support. It's also extremely helpful to sit down with teachers and coordinate programs that align with classroom goals, such as book lists and activities that are tied to curriculum topics. Frequently, kids love to explore these topics more, but don't always have the resources to express their wants. You can also offer to co teach lessons on literacy when they're in the library. Finally, what I have found to be one of the best ways to motivate students is to celebrate all of the small wins. You want to boost your students' morales by recognizing achievements and readings. You can host celebrations for milestones, such as completion of a reading challenge or improving reading fluency. You can also offer awards like Most Improved Reader and Reading Superstar of the Month. Both students and the parents of students love when their students get recognized with awards and accolades because it makes them feel accomplished and like they've genuinely met a goal, which they have. And we need to encourage them to keep doing so. These strategies not only enhance students' reading experiences, but also foster a lifelong love of learning and empower every student who walks through your library doors. Throughout these experiences, I've learned that theories like attribution theory, which helps students reframe failure into learning opportunities, become powerful tools when they're woven in with everyday library practices. For instance, themed book displays, as we talked about, that align with students' interests can subtly introduce motivational concepts in a fun and accessible way. Not every strategy will resonate with every student or situation. Sometimes a program may not draw as much interest as anticipated, or a tech tool may not engage as expected. But just like we teach our students, the key is to evaluate and adapt. By observing what works and gathering feedback, I've been able to refine my approach to better meet the needs of my students. I encourage you to do the same, as every school has very different students. While general programs might work for every school, specifics of the program should be adjusted to your population that you're serving. Keep in mind that every challenge presents an opportunity to learn. For example, when a planned activity doesn't go as expected, I've found that flexibility, such as offering alternative book choices or adjusting the format of an event, can turn things around. Reflecting on what went well and what didn't is instrumental in improving library programs. Ultimately, the most important lesson that I've learned is that fostering a love for reading requires a combination of thoughtful planning, adaptability, and collaboration. By meeting students where they are and continuously evolving our strategies, we can create a library that inspires every reader. I would like to thank you for joining me on this journey through motivational strategies for school libraries. I hope these insights have sparked new ideas for you and for your own media center, and have inspired you to explore creative ways to engage with your students. Remember that as librarians and educators, we have the power to be the champions of reading for every student, no matter where their starting point is. Let's keep striving to make libraries spaces of growth, joy, and inspiration. If you found this presentation helpful, I would love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to share your own stories, questions, and suggestions. Together, we can continue making a lasting impact on students' lives. Let's keep the conversation going, because every reader deserves to be a champion,